You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hello, mamas. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Mama Work It podcast. So glad you're here. If you are new in town, my name is Marissa Lonick. I am your host and the founder of Mama Work It, where we support women in the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. Super excited to dive into our topic today, and we have an amazing guest. Her name is Rachel Welch. She is a women's health advocate, prenatal and postnatal fitness expert, and pioneer. Her life-elevating fitness method empowers women with the knowledge and skills to understand, heal, and embody motherhood from the inside out. With 20 plus years of experience teaching and studying human physiology, yoga and barre, Eastern medicine, and fitness, Rachel has forged lasting relationships across the medical and fitness industries. She frequently partners with physicians and pelvic PTs to treat and strengthen pre- and postnatal conditions, including rehabilitating scar tissue, pelvic floor functionality, organ prolapse, incontinence, and diastasis.
Diastasis recti. You got it.
Diastasis recti. Thank you. Every mom deserves to make a full and active recovery from pregnancy and childbirth every time. She noticed a huge gap in the market through her own pregnancies, and with that, Revolution Motherhood was born. What started as a means to heal herself has now morphed into a successful online platform, app, and in-person phenomenon. Rachel is arming women with the tools they need to fight their pain, and her 20 years of experience from Eastern medicine, human physiology, fitness modalities like yoga and barre are helping her along the way. Her expertise has been featured on The Bump, Oprah Daily, and Ula Health. Rachel, so excited to chat with you today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. That was such a robust intro.
Yes. And I still can't say that word, and I had that condition.
Did you? Yeah, it's one of those things that I was just talking to somebody else about that today, that when I started Revolution Motherhood, diastasis was like whispered through the grapevines, right? It was actually like my father-in-law, who was a physician, who like mentioned it to my husband on the side. And I never heard of it. I never even heard of diastasis recti, and went like Googling, as all women do when you have a question about your body. And that was the beginning of Revolution Motherhood, frankly.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Well, I know we really dove into your bio, your intro here, but I'd love to hear just in your own words, like more about your journey, what led you here, how you got to where you are.
Yeah, it was like a lot of women entrepreneur origin stories. I stumbled into it through my own experience, and the holes and lacks of information that I was tumbling into as a woman getting married and becoming a mom, right? And so going through very normal arcs of life, I just happened to have a background robust in fitness, physiology, anatomy. I say often that at the point that I became pregnant and had a baby, had my first daughter 13 years ago, there wasn't much I didn't know about the human body. And I knew almost nothing about the specifics of a woman's body. And it was through that discovery on the other side, through being pregnant and like all the don'ts and all the fear factoring. But it was really on the other side that I was hit in the face with the black hole, like all the black holes, it's like nobody ever tells you X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank, but really the black hole in my industry, in the fitness industry. And it was through that initial whispering from my father-in-law, and me Googling and me being scared to get on my yoga mat and stretch my incredibly stiff, achy new mom body because it hadn't been 6 weeks yet. So I felt like I was sneaking to my mat because my body hurt and I was desperate to like do a forward bend and make it feel better, that I started to realize that not only was I surrounded by all this swirling information of don'ts and fear, that I was also not being shown a yes anywhere. And as I did start to move, realizing I had no language to describe what I was experiencing in my body. And coming from where I was from and all of the information I had and all the knowledge I had, that was astounding. That was this huge wake up call of like, how come the word postpartum was never even said to me in my entire years of training? How come my prenatal training in my 200-hour yoga training was 2 hours and it constituted taking a yoga strap and tying a big blanket to my belly and trying to move? And that's how we came up with adjustments for yoga poses for pregnant women. Like that was it. And as I started to move and trust my body and go back to like this template, I equally was getting really fired up about that black hole and realizing that my industry was failing women. And that was completely unacceptable to me. That not only was it failing women, but it was setting us up to fail. And so I set out filling that void. And it was very organic. It was very personal. My husband at the time was a full-blown New York City chef. So I was the primary at home. And what I was incubating, I call it kind of the incubation period for Revolution Motherhood. What I was incubating was what I realized many years later was a formula of understanding of how a woman's body needs to be cross-trained for longevity, to transition and thrive and understand your body for every decade of change it transcends. Because unique from a male body, women's neuromuscular systems change with your hormonal changes. And your hormones change every decade. So regardless of having a baby, right? That's one life event, having a baby. But there are injuries, there's menopause, there's puberty. And every single one of those life transitions is changing the way your brain talks to muscles to make your body move. So when you say go work out, well, how? Right? You tell a woman in menopause now to lift heavy weights and maintain muscle body, but those muscles aren't turning on. How is she supposed to build muscle? So what I really crafted over 2 babies now, who are now 13 and 8, was a structured roadmap that is handing women the knowledge about how their bodies work and a very unique cross-training methodology that includes fascial hydration, muscular patterning, and structured cross-training. And that we cycle through those 3 points on the system and guide you decade over decade so that you are not ever left saying, what just happened to my body? How come no one ever told me?
Wow. Okay. All right. So much to dive into. I can't wait
I know.
for
I
this
feel like I
conversation.
just spilled it all out to you.
No, so good. Such a good intro. Okay. So let's take it back like 10 steps for those of us who don't have this background in anatomy, physiology, all the incredible certifications and knowledge that you had even entering into this. And you even said yourself, you were still feeling like you lacked a lot of knowledge there.
I didn't know what I was doing. I literally got on my yoga mat, did a child's pose and was like, I wonder if I can do down dog. Let's find out. Like that was how it all started.
Yeah. So give us sort of the 101 abbreviated course of how a woman's body functions, how it heals. I mean, we sort of heard this a little bit with the hormonal shifts every decade or so, but give us a little more understanding of this because this is really fascinating. Like I did not know. I mean, obviously I figured we're changing throughout our lifetime. It's an evolution, right? Yeah. But every 10 years, that's news to me. I mean,
Yeah. So think about the arc of your lifetime, right? Your first 10 years, like you're a kid. From 10 to 20, you've gone through puberty and you've become a young adult. From 20 to 30, you are transcending your like peak reproductive period. And in a lot of cases, women are already by early 30s starting to move into perimenopause, certainly hormonal changes, right? From 30 to 40, most women now are fully entering perimenopause. 40 to 50, you're perimenopause to menopause. Every single one of those decades, your hormones or your whole chemical makeup is going through a change. Then take our anatomical changes. And I really learned this by watching my daughter, frankly. When she started to get breasts and she started to go into puberty, she was like 10. I walked into the bathroom, she was taking a bath. I walk into the bathroom and she like ducks down behind the edge of the tub, which she'd never done before. And I kind of looked at her and I'd already kind of noticed. And I looked at her, I was like, are you hiding because you're getting boobs? And she kind of laughed. And like we had a laughing moment about it and we talked about it. But what clicked for me is how much when our bodies go through puberty as girls and women, we start to change the way we live in our bodies. So our functional movement starts to change in addition to our physiological changes, right? We're immediately starting to curl around and kind of like, it's sensitive, it hurts. Like we're changing the way we relate to our bodies. Now, when we change the way we're like holding ourselves, our tissues are changing as well. Okay. So when you curl around yourself like this, for instance, your back is getting pulled down, your core is getting compressed, and suddenly you've taken a normal functional trunk that can do the monkey bars and you've made it stop working. And that's the beginning, literally. And then you start to go into your 20s where it's like, you're doing jobs, you're running around, maybe you're partying hard, and your body is changing again. And you're starting to feel how a woman's body moves, but also starts to not move very freely and well. So you do workout classes, right? So it's like that's sort of that idea of how your body, how your functional movement is like changing, how we live in our bodies is changing the way our tissues function. From a neurological and anatomical perspective, a really big piece of the puzzle is called fascial tissue. And I can go deep and nerd out on anatomy, okay? But let's just think of fascial tissue. It's in your whole body. You have all kinds of different tissues and makeups of your body. You have bones, you have skin, you have muscle, you have veins, you have nerves. Like these are all the different parts of your body. Your fascial tissue are the pantyhose that hold it all together, okay? And it's in your whole body. It's in different layers. But the one that I really target and work on, it's superficial fascial tissue. And it runs between your skin and your muscle. It is literally like a second skin. And it is a system. It is not isolated. So it's not like, oh, there's just the fascial tissue in my finger, right? The fascial tissue in my hand runs all the way up into my chest, into my neck, into my face. Okay. So if you do something down here at your hand, it affects the whole system. Vice versa, if you do something in your neck or your neck gets jacked out, suddenly you can't like feel your bicep really work really well. And suddenly you can't take your arm up over your head anymore, right? Fascial tissue is designed to create functionality and glide, right? Between your skin and your muscles, there's movement. Now, when you have fluid retention, what happens? You get swollen. And those three layers, your skin, your fascial tissue, and your muscle, start to kind of not glide very well. You've got a bunch of fluid in there, right? So then what happens? Instead of having a muscle that just does this, no big deal, you have a muscle that kind of does this. And then it gets more restricted and you don't notice right away because you're busy. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm going to go work out. And then you're like, why can't my shoulder do that anymore? Like, why isn't my arm moving anymore? Why does that feel stiff? What did I do? And that's what happens to women's brains. It's like, I did something wrong. I didn't catch it. It was my fault, right? Is where women tend to really go. What really has happened is that just the tissues have gotten restricted. And when fascial tissue gets restricted or gets swollen, it can get runs in it like a pantyhose. It's pantyhose, right? It can get a little run in it. It can get stuck to the muscle, like a little adhered. And then all of a sudden you're getting more and more restricted. When you have a tight muscle that's not fully able to do its range of motion and you try to strength train it, you're trying to strength train on tension, which builds more tension. It doesn't build functional strength. Okay. So I use the bicep because it's visual and it's like, it's easy to understand, but put this concept in your pelvic floor. Put that concept in your core muscles and in your trunk. your core muscles start in your back. And when I say core muscles, I mean from your chest to below your butt. That's your core. When you have fascial tissue that over a lifetime is just like a little torn, a little funky, something happens, your back's a little wonky. In your 20s, you kind of override it. In your 30s, it starts to say something. You have a baby, you're postpartum, it's crying out. And suddenly you are progressively living in incrementally increased amounts of pain and coping, which means you're not thriving. It means you are tolerating living in a lot of pain. And most of us, certainly once you become a mom, you don't have time to unpack that. Okay? Like, you don't stop and unpack that until you physically can't bend over the crib and pick up your baby without being scared you're going to throw out your back. And then you still do it anyway because your baby's crying, right? So really what we're talking about is understanding fascial hydration, okay? And I do that with this magic thing. It's a soft foam roller. It's super squishy, right? And I use this, and I use these little squishy balls on your hands, your feet, and I use this on your whole body, your neck, your back, your pelvis, your thighs, your hips, your inner thighs, everywhere. I call it ironing you out. So we iron out all your fascial tissue. So we get this. It's like, okay, I can access a muscle. Look at that. And then we target that muscle. And I'm like, hey, brain, turn on my bicep. And when you start to do that in your core, especially after you've had a baby, your brain's going to be like, cool. And it turns on your hip flexors. And you're like, hey, brain, turn on my core again. And be like, okay. And it squeezes your butt, right? That's the strength patterning. Where we're like, nope, that's not the core. We start to isolate the lost muscles, turn off the muscles that are overcompensating. Once we get that equation, that's your brain body connection. We get that equation firing well. Then we strength train you. Because once the muscle's on, no big deal. I put a dumbbell in my arm and I do my bicep. Once your pelvic floor can move and everything's happy, no big deal. We can start to isolate and turn on your whole pelvic corridor and strengthen your core, right? But it is that combination of fascial hydration and gliding, because just hormone changes deactivate your muscles and change the way fascial tissue glides in your body, regardless of childbirth. Then we get our muscles and we're like, all right, what's turning on, what's not? When your boobs grow, when they change, it hijacks your pec muscles, okay? Women don't have fewer pec muscles than men. We just don't use them because our boobs kind of take over our chest and we don't understand, or we're never taught how to actually flex our pecs and use our pec muscles. These muscles are the pair of these upper back muscles. How many of us have horrible upper back pain? Because we're doing this all the time. You work one side, you work the other, suddenly you have a system in your chest cavity that can hold itself up. So that is Revolution Motherhood in a nutshell. And I apply it to each life transition in each chapter, because you aren't in a different body when you're in your 30s and your 40s. You're not a different person. You're growing, you're evolving, you're on a journey, but your muscles are the same. They may have changed shape. You may be pregnant and your transverse abdominals are out to here. They're still there. Let's turn them on. Let's make sure they're still alive and part of your body. Once the baby's out, they're in a different shape again. Let's train them and teach them to be part of your body again. And let's rehabilitate, but we don't stay there. We're moving you into a fully functional body at every juncture, because you have to live in a full body. You walk around and you do your life in a full body. And if you don't have access to that, you are restricting yourself. And really one of the biggest things that I see, and it's really, this is what lights the fire in my belly, is moms restricting themselves. The moms who come to me, and like, I'm based in Brooklyn, and they keep the radius of their walking with their baby to a minimum around their apartment, because they know if they go any further, there's a chance that their body won't be able to get them home again. Or they just don't go out. Moms in the suburbs, they're like, I can't get the car seat into the car. It just, like, my back just won't do it. So they end up home alone. And this is where we start to look at just like the chronic crushing reality of motherhood in particular, where we're being set up in so many ways to fail, or to have so many of the conditions we're thankfully starting to talk about: chronic postpartum anxiety, depression, like all of those isolating experiences of motherhood. They exist through the physical body. And if we're ignoring the reality and the template of the physical body, it's going to be really, really hard to address all those other areas.
Yeah. Mind-body connection is so important to consider, one way or the other, right? Because sometimes people start with the mental health concerns and then it manifests in the body. But like you're saying as well, it could be a chronic back issue or something. And now that's isolating a new mom from, having community or getting out of the house or just like taking care of her own mental health. So
Yeah.
so good. I love the analogy with the pantyhose. As you were saying that, I was envisioning like an old stretched out pair of like yoga leggings or yoga pants when it's not in good shape versus like a brand new pair of Spanx.
Yes. Yes. In fact, so we were actually joking the other day in class because I have just sort of these analogies that have come out of me over the years. And it's become kind of the revolution motherhood language, and put your tights on is one of the things I say all the time. And it's the idea of engaging your thigh muscles. I call them the big guns. Like you're going to turn on the strong muscles, but it moves through the pelvic floor. It moves up into the core. You're not just doing the pelvic floor, just doing your butt. I'm like, put the tights on and get it all engaged, right? Everything's going to work together. But yeah, I use the pantyhose analogy all the time.
Yeah. It's so good. The visuals are so good because, these complicated words, Rachel, for me who doesn't have a background. And I mean, the most anatomical course I took in college was to become a group exercise instructor. And let me tell you, that was a hard course.
Yeah.
That was a really challenging course. So, I'm not using this vernacular on a regular basis. So hearing an analogy like that makes it make sense for me.
Totally. And that is the accessible piece of this. When I was saying, when I was newly postpartum and I was like, I don't have language. This is the language I came up with. And it was very organic. It was very me. It's very unique to Revolution Motherhood. It is just like, how do we get you to connect to something in your body that I want your brain to find? It's not going to happen because I give you an anatomy course. I do give little doses of anatomy because we need to have landmarks that we can all relate to, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, but that little dose of anatomy needs to not be where your brain goes. Like we're not going down some analytical like journey here. We're getting embodied. So I want your brain to immediately be able to find it. So we're going to talk about, when I talk about pelvic floor work, I talk about like gathering a tampon up into your vaginal wall. I give like very specific cues because I want you to understand how to do a Kegel. It's not just some random squeeze of the pelvic floor, right? And so if we can give those visuals and the cues while you're actually trying to find it in your body, suddenly mind-body connection sparks. Suddenly your brain is turning on muscles it didn't even know you had.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
it's really...
You mentioned this earlier. I want to talk about it a little bit more. Let's talk about pain. Like, what do we need to be aware of? What's cause for alarm? What are the red flags here?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say for women is we can handle a lot of pain. Like we know that now, right? And so when it comes particularly to the moment of pregnancy and childbirth, you have adapted to and elevated your ability to sustain a great deal of pain. And when the baby's on the other side, right, and you've got this little person who owns your heart and soul and attention on the outside of you, this is not getting your attention. So you are going to be ignoring, and you're like jacked up on all kinds of hormones. You are going to be ignoring or overriding or not noticing a lot of low-grade pain. Okay. So one is setting yourself up to look at yourself and be like, wait, I'm going to take 60 seconds and I'm just not going to override the fact that my back's been hurting all day. I'm getting through it. It's fine. I'm being a mom. I'm exhausted, but my back really hurts. That creeps up on you, right? So there's that first just level of self-awareness of like, wait, you are in pain. You're a new mom. Your shoulders are rocks. The physicality of motherhood is more than your body can sustain. Your body is injured right now. So let's have some tools to start to just open up that pain and reduce it. It's going to keep your mental health here rather than jackknifing all over the place, right? Let's just give you a better baseline to work from. So that's like chronic coping, just low-grade pain and ache and stiffness. You don't have to live like that. That does not have to be the way it is. The other one is like heart pain, where you start to notice you are adjusting and planning your day around your pain. Meaning, like what I said about going around your house with the stroller and a woman not going further than like 3 blocks from her apartment because her back might not make it home. And then she's stuck outside with her baby. Or you can't bend over the crib, or you're freaking out trying to get the stroller, like, or get the car seat out of the stroller. Those things that are like impacting your choices, your ability to freely move and live your life, that's a red flag. That means it's time to take a look. And it can be really, really scary because women think, one, we're used to not getting good answers, right? We're used to being told, well, you had a baby. What do you expect? Or go get surgery. Or like the answers tend to be so insurmountable that it's better to just keep coping with it, right? Or we're afraid that we're going to be told nothing can be done. And this is the state you're in forever. And that's scary too, right? So there's a lot of fear around that goes hand in hand with pain. A lot of sirens going on right now. Sorry. Welcome to New York. So those are 2 sort of red flags. The other one is shooting pain. And I will like name some of the most common places. Your pubic bone, you don't override that. Okay. Especially if you're in that first like 6 months postpartum, your pubic bone is an important joint. And if you override that, it's going to get worse. Okay. Pelvic floor heaviness, incontinence, you're peeing yourself, even if it's just a little when you sneeze. It's not that you've done anything wrong, but it's a signal that your core is misfiring, right? We can do things about that. And it doesn't take 20 hours of PT. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes of consistent daily movement structured in a program like Revolution Motherhood. Okay. So that's the other piece, is just letting women know that there are very doable treatments and solutions to this. It doesn't mean you're not going to be able to take care of your baby because you've got to go be at the doctor for 4 hours, or you've got to do PT, then an hour of your fitness, then you've got to go get a massage, and then you've got to make dinner. And like, it's not that. It's 30 minutes of constructive. We're working with your body. We're changing the way your body moves so that once you get up and you walk around and you're being a mom again, your body is responding differently. So that's the biggest thing I hear and that I really translate with women is what we do on the mat doesn't stay on the mat. That goes immediately into bending over and brushing your teeth. It goes immediately into picking up the 50,000 things you pick up off the floor every day, right? It goes immediately into understanding how to protect your hands and wrists all day so you're not just like in chronic pain in your arm. That would be another one. Mommy wrists, don't ignore it. It just gets worse. Okay. And then you get like really chronic inflammation in the ligaments. So mommy wrist, very treatable again. A lot of these things are conditions or states of being in your body that are not linear. Women's bodies are not linear. It is very circular, right? And that as soon as I say that, it tends to click for women. It's like, oh yeah, your healing is not going to be linear. Linear is very male. It's very masculine. We are women. Our tissues change every month. Our hormones change every month. We need to understand that circular experience of our body so that like if you're dealing with diastasis, we're going to turn it on. We're going to activate. We're going to like get that mind-body connection stronger. We're going to get the actual muscle fibers stronger. You're going to take it with you in the day. You're going to feel stronger when you bend over. And then you're going to get your period. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't turn on my abs. I'm all bloated. And you're like, okay, I'm going to like dial it back a little. I'm going to go back to activation. I'm going to go back to rolling. I'm going to get some of this fluid out of my body. And then tomorrow I was able to do more. Right. So it's very circular, especially these kinds of mom injuries, mom pain. Being a mom is hard on your body. Let's like establish that as our baseline. But that doesn't mean you have to be suffering. It means you're performing an incredibly athletically demanding job on 0 sleep and on a brain that is like smoking, right? So 30 minutes of incredibly efficient, effective mind-body work grounds your mental state, reduces your stress. Like I call it opening the release valve, letting some steam out, right? We're not staying in PT. We're going to roll you out. And then I'm going to make you do jump squats. I'm going to make you breathe. I'm going to make you pump. I'm going to make you use your body so that one, we're getting stress out, but two, we're making you stronger. Right. But we're doing it from a place where you have knowledge and power. And when you do feel pain, you know how to stop. You know how to reset. You know, you start to develop a relationship with yourself because your injuries don't exist in a vacuum, right? It's just part of the landscape and you're working with it. They'll come back a little, they may not. You don't know. We don't know the future.
Right, right. Yeah. And I love how the methodology is really geared toward root cause, right? Like resolving the issue, not treating the symptom.
Yeah.
And also with that sort of cyclical nature or just like that changing throughout the decades, right? Of like retraining to where you are and what season you're in.
Yeah. So you start to become the owner, like this, you have agency over your health choices as a woman now, because you don't get into your 30s and hear the advice, the influencers, the social media, all the stuff, you hear the advice, but you have a place to test that advice. Right. And find out if it's resonating. And that's true for motherhood too. It's like we get all the mom advice, but does it work for you? Does it resonate with your child? Does it resonate with your family? Right? Let's just test it out. Same thing with your body. You're not at the whims of whatever the fad advice is right now. You can actually test that out and be like, actually, I'm noticing my back isn't moving as well right now. I have some tools to make sure that I keep that open so I don't wait 5 years and suddenly I've got a hump in my back and I can't stand up straight anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
You're definitely making me sit up straighter on this episode.
And so I think one of my phrases in class is sits up.
Yeah. And I feel like we don't give ourselves and our bodies enough credit. They're probably our best teachers and our best feedback givers. And we don't always trust it. And this is a good reminder to lean into that intuitive knowledge, intuitive nudge, just kind of what you're feeling and how it's going for you and what's working for her
the truth
may not
for
work
you
for
is
you.
in your body. Yeah. You know the truth. You know if it resonates or not. But increasingly as a society, but as women have always kind of been gaslit around that. You know, it's like you don't actually know what's in your body. You don't actually know is really the statement that's always given to us. I still get those answers. I still get said stuff like that. You know, I can go into like male fundraising for a company, right? Like, and how much people tell me like, oh, you just aren't thinking about the right thing. Right. And it's like, whoa. But that's the messaging we get our whole lives. Like you're not, you just don't know. We have the answers for you. And that sets us up for so much self-doubt and confusion because we do need information. We need the tribe. I need to know how you're getting your kid to sleep because I'm losing my mind. Right. But I need to hear 5 different options. And then a couple of those I'm going to try out.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. It needs to be a partnership.
Yeah. There's like, I'm going to share advice with you. I'm going to share what works for me. I'm going to share my knowledge. And this is a big part of Revolution Motherhood. I'm always asking women, I call it litmus testing. I'm like, you need to litmus test this on your body. And if something isn't working for you, you put up your hand and shout it out because it means it's not working for a couple of other women in this room right now. Right. We are collectively growing and trusting our knowledge and our intuition and finding new answers. I don't think I have all the answers. I'm a lifelong student. And it's because I stay in that learning space that we keep innovating and growing and creating new methodology, new versions of this methodology to meet more women's needs.
Yes.
It's not just for like the mom in Brooklyn who needs the stroller to move.
Yes. Oh. All right, Rachel. Well, we are going to move on to our lightning round now. This is where we ask you some random, just for fun questions, just so our listeners can get to know you a little bit more personally. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. If you could go on vacation tomorrow anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Oh, that's kind of a trick question because I'm going to Puerto Rico in 2 days and I'm really super excited about it. It's spring break and it's our spring break ritual that we go to one location because our kids have 2 weeks off for spring break. So we go with 3 other families and we've been doing this for 4 years and it is magic. I call it the commune. We all pal together. It's like, it's moms, dads, and the kids. And we cook, we live together, we play together. We're on the beach, we have the pool. And when the world ends, we've decided the four of our families, we're going to live together. So
that sounds incredible. And I love that you've already been able to do it. Yes. Love it. What is your guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh God. It's anything like British mysteries, like even like really old, like Agatha Christie, Poirot. It has to be stuff that's not too heavy, but I like mystery. And it's usually British or Australian or New Zealand.
You like an accent with it.
It's almost never American TV.
Yes, love it. What is something most people don't know about you?
God, I feel like I'm so transparent. I can wiggle my nose. My daughters think it's really funny that I can kind of almost do.
Yes.
I
see it.
Elizabeth Montgomery thing. I can't go back and forth, but I can move my nose up and down.
And if you're listening and not watching, you should probably go to the YouTube channel and check this out.
And do a little bit of a rabbit thing. Okay.
All right. Last question. What is your go-to like get it done song? Really pumps you up, motivates you?
I would say anything Beyonce. Recently, I've had like some old school, like Maroon 5, Animals have been one in there. Yeah, that's generally where I go, is something like, but it usually is something really empowering too. Like Look at Her Now by Selena Gomez. Like that's on my playlist right now. Something that's like girls kicking ass.
Yes. Love it. Love it. Rachel, thank you so much for being here. Before we hop off, where can our listeners find you, learn more about your brand, your exercise?
Everything is called Revolution Motherhood. So all of our social handles are at Revolution Motherhood. Our website is revolutionmotherhood.com. You can work out with me in person in Brooklyn, and you can do the app, which has a very structured, robust, fun videos from early postpartum, prenatal, 4th trimester recovery, injury recovery, all the way to me kicking your booty in phase 3 with our weekly cross-training schedule, fascial hydration, body education for a lifetime. And that is on our app. You can try it for 7 days free just by jumping over to the website.
Love it. Thank you. And we will link all of that in our show notes today. Thank you
so
again,
much,
Rachel. I learned a ton. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I really appreciate what you're doing for women and mothers and creating a megaphone for knowledge to get out there in the world.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.